Okay, so my name's Maf'J Alvarez. I am a digital artist, creative technologist, and user experience designer based in Brighton, UK. I am director of Root Interactive Limited and founder of Incubate Immersive Collective. I'm going to talk to you today about the process of developing Eva Quantica VR. So I just need to share my screen. Get started. This will stop the others. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah? All right, so I'm going to start the slideshow. I've got my notes somewhere else. That's all right. Okay. Good. All right. So I'll be reading these speaker notes for about 7 minutes, which thankfully I wrote whilst I wasn't ill. And after the talk, I'll be attempting to jump into the VR headset and cast Eva Quantica to the screen as a kind of demo. I'll keep that to about 10 minutes and take any questions after that. I might not be very lucid in my responses because my brain is fully somewhere else. But I'm going to show you a trailer now, and that will give you an idea of what we're going to talk about. Let's see how that works.
I want your skin obsessively. Try to pull away, but now I cannot stop you in my breath.
Okay, I hope the sound wasn't too bad on that. Just check, are you all good still? Okay. All right. So, oh, 1 second. Oh, my speaker notes have decided not to play. Sorry. Oh. Sorry about this. 1 second. Trying to look up. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to sort myself out here with a different solution.
Yeah, no problem. So you're muted at the moment, just so you know.
Okay, I'm muted. All right, let's try again.
Okay.
You see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so Eva Quantica VR is a surreal, dreamlike, painfully open world to explore Eve and her multiple selves. In December 2020, I was selected, along with proposals by Nigerian artist Dennis Agadabe and Berlin-based artist collective Fantasia Malware, from nearly 100 entries to an open call by the National Gallery X and Audiences Lab at Royal Opera House, supported by King's College London. This micro commission was titled "The Rules Do Not Apply," and inspired by the immense uncertainty and flux that is a feature of life in a pandemic, they were keen to investigate how the COVID-19 pandemic could be a catalyst for reflection and change. We were asked for an artistic response to the painting Crivelley's Garden by Paula Rego and the motion capture data of Eve, choreographed by Kristen McNally. The open call was unusual in that it invited applicants to download the motion capture files, the IP, ahead of submission. Annette Mace of Royal Opera House explained that it was the only way to evoke a truly interesting response. The commission lasted 4 weeks during February and March 2021, and a fee of £4,000 was awarded to each artist or group. As an artist, it allowed me to embody ballet in VR, to stand next to and even inside the dancers and really feel the movement. Also unusual was the generosity and curiosity of Kristen McNally, the ballerina, who choreographed Eve, because it was going to be remixed, and for me to have that freedom as a non-dancer was really powerful. So I like dance, but I'm not really dance. I proposed an open experiment in quantum futures for women through VR, one where all versions of Eve already existed, past, present, and future, a triptych of dimensions and perception. Viewers could choose to be a cat, a human, or a statue. The Paula Rego piece gave me the courage to ask about the role of women within power structures, architecturally and culturally. My response to her work was in the encoding of the elements into the landscape and her permission to do outrageous things. I was assisted in contextualizing the piece by Priyesh Mistry, curator at National Gallery. So what I've got is this on a tiny little iPad, which seems to be, okay, next. All right. Okay, despite working largely alone, I used an agile methodology because I work in user experience design normally, and I work in big teams of maybe 10, 15 people developing government services. So for me, like the culture of a team is really interesting. So this was the first time I actually got to work alone, but I pretended that I was a team of 3 years. Yeah, anyway, so this allowed me to fail fast and iterate often. I used the Miro online tool to create a canvas to organize myself with a mood board, flowchart, and a Kanban board with a set of experiments and spikes that I would run for 2 weeks. I had technical and creative constraints due to choosing Quest headset. A high-end VR setup would have been expensive to show to many people. Technical choices were to use the game engine Unity 3D with universal render pipeline and a limited number of textures and low poly assets. Working from the Fusebox Brighton, I recorded daily streams of my working practice. This helped me to think aloud and sound out my technical and artistic ideas for future me. I put links on the Miro board and shared with the commissioning team. We met weekly to monitor progress. I sent Annette a Quest, and she side-loaded files onto it for testing early builds. Kristen, the ballerina, also received a headset, but during testing this was not successful due to time and technical issues. So we used video links and Zoom calls. I think basically a ballerina's rehearsal schedule is so intense that there wasn't really the time to break out and do something that required a lot of mental shift in that way. Creative technologist Andy Baker was my technical mentor during this time. After the 2 weeks experimental phase, I evaluated and designed a new experience through the piece. I moved towards a thin slice of functionality to iron out major performance issues. I failed and restarted several times due to rendering incompatibilities. I committed changes frequently to a GitHub repository. So I chose to use free and Creative Commons assets as the character skins for the motion capture would have taken a long time to craft, and I wanted to celebrate the remixing of digital assets. I wanted the piece to be rich with other people's contributions baked in. I chose to model the world on the one I experienced daily during COVID, but modified through TV news reports and a warped perspective on the lives of others whom I saw on the screen remotely. I allowed the medium to guide my changes. Being able to work with a full spectrum of digital tools and with enough developer experience meant I was nimble and could paint with my own brush, moving light and assets around where and how I wanted, testing in VR constantly. I used free assets and rigging features of Adobe Mixamo and Sketchfab, and Blender was used to modify models and combine meshes where needed for optimization. I chose a simple aesthetic style with a limited encoded material palette. Rusty iron for dead or traditional ideas from Rago. In the dried up well, statues, the dead bodies, trees in the park, boots in the church. Emissive red was used extensively, and a single tree mesh with roots and branches represented the life force throughout. These objects were in the water like veins, as trees and roots, as menstrual blood in the bath, and like lung alveoli. I paid for a day of Unity development support from Paul Hayes and a day of sound design by Anna Bertmar. A second release in 2022 replaced some of the audio tracks with music by Brighton-based artist Bunty, with whom I've been collaborating in an experimental VR music making that is a bit immersive. So an online presentation evening was arranged by the National Gallery to present the projects, where a trailer was shown and the interviews with the artists. An essay book by Gabrielle de la Fuente from White Pew was commissioned to go alongside the piece. Afterwards, I showed Eva Quantica in the streets, the park, the pub, homes, a wild spa and a campsite. I took the headset and a collapsible UVC sanitation box to as many places as possible. The piece has been very well received overall. The experience lasts around 30 minutes, including onboarding and offboarding, which is significant in this piece. Like, we really take care to make sure everybody's okay going in and coming out, and really doing feedback and that sort of thing. Eva Quantica has also been installed for free to over 430 headsets via SideQuest VR, which I can, well, if you go to my website, there's a link at the end, you can download it onto the Quest. I was going to bring it with me today, but yeah, it's not going to happen. Okay, in May 2022, I was selected to show at Brighton Festival main programme, where we showed Eva Quantica in 4 venues, 3 of them simultaneously on the same weekend. Each venue represented a different part of the Eva Quantica map. We set up in Lighthouse, which is an art gallery, the Loading Bar, which is like a kind of gaming bar, Friends Meeting House, which is a place of reflection, and the Rework, a family-friendly venue created by the guest co-director and architect Mauro Alcedini. With a steward and volunteer available in each venue, we showed to over 150 people of all ages and experience. We collected feedback forms from the participants, which revealed that for 50% of them, this was the first ever VR experience. And despite many suffering from mild motion sickness, they rated the experience very highly overall. So we got something like 4.5 stars out of 5 in general, even though most people got a little bit sick, especially when climbing the tower as a cat, which I'm going to show you what that feels like. You might be sick. Anyway, we confirmed that this way of making VR and presenting VR has the potential to bring new audiences to artworks outside of the traditional art venues, whilst retaining much of the immersion afforded by these. I hope to be able to make similar work in the future, and hope to see more work of this kind being shown in community settings. So Eva Quantica is freely available for download onto the MetaQuest headset from my website, www.limbicfish.net, and from SideQuest VR. Thank you for listening. And you can reach me on Twitter. I'm at limbicfish. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And you can email me at mafj@rooteinteractive.com. And now we're gonna do something which I don't know if it will work. If it doesn't, I'll say thank you now. But I'm going to try and take you into the experience by casting to the screen on the headset. And I'm going to show you things that people don't often do. I asked people in the feedback form what did you want to do when you first got in? And a lot of people said climb to the top of the tower and look around. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take you there as a cat, and you'll see that the perspective of a cat is very, you're very small and nimble. And then I'm going to show you bits that people don't often see, or don't choose to look for, or just don't know they're there. And I would like to notice as well when we climb to the top of the tower, and I'm going to try not to talk the whole time because I've noticed that video and talking doesn't work together. That when we're at the top of the tower, have a look. I'm going to look around, we'll pan around, and you'll see that there's a Garden of Earthly Delights by Harun Maf'J, which is basically the left panel covering the ground. It's the whole ground plane. Yeah. Okay. Let's go. Are we all right still there? John, are we all right?
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to mute myself and go on, take the camera off for a second while I just set up the headsets. Talk by yourself. And we won't go for very long on this, I don't think. Let's see. Share. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, so we can see, yeah, like your sort of browser window with Eva Quantica.
Okay, so I'm going to try and make it larger at full screen and see what happens. And I'm going to mute myself, but like I said, just, you know, it might make you feel a bit dizzy only because the camera is on my head, obviously, and I'm not a very good tripod. So I'll try to be as gentle as I can, and I'll just wander about a bit and just kind of, yeah, don't think too much about it. It's a very surreal experience. I was going into the depth of my mind during a very weird time for everybody. Okay, so I'll make it large screen. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna mute now.
We don't have any audio at this point. Should we be hearing anything?
Oh yeah, you should have sound from the experience. I'm just gonna try and make sure I've got the here now.
Yeah, we got it now.
Can you just let me know if you can still hear it while I'm muted?
Yeah, that's fine.
Being a human, trying to listen, asking the question. Yelegana hadu, yelegana hadu. Everyone has their price. This is something that you can give. This is something that you can give. Everyone has their price. This is something that you can give. This is something that you can give. feeling and then try to work it out. What to make of it? What are the variations of a fingerprint? So more detail in the picture. At first we missed it, but we can get it done. Speak to me. I love to see alternate reality. Speak to me. All kind of behavior. I love to see your alternate reality. Speak to me. What we are here for, what we are fighting on, here in this daydream. I see you too. What we are here for, what we are aiming to, here in this nightmare. I pull you loose. What we are here for, what are we waiting on? Here in the space I call on you.
Just to let you know, we're nearly out of time for to allow time for a question.
That I had to do. Where's the way out?
Okay, so I think you're muted still, if you want to unmute. Yeah, okay, great, thank you very much.
Yeah, so thanks for watching that. I got to set a timer, so I hope I wasn't too long.
Yeah, it's a really visually impressive piece, I think, really nice color combinations and nice sounds as well. How did you approach the collaboration? Because you said the music side was a collaboration, I think.
So the music wasn't a collaboration, but I am collaborating with the artist now. So that was actually a couple of different albums, one from Moulette's, Hannah Moore and the Moulettes, which I'd only discovered after making the piece. I had wanted to collaborate with musicians during making it, but in 4 weeks there just wasn't enough time to set all that kind of thing up during COVID, so I didn't. But Bunty is actually part of Incubit, and we go around doing workshops and hack jams in virtual reality, and doing kind of stuff with universities and like with students and that kind of thing, doing spatialized sound jams. Yeah, so that's how I'm collaborating with Bunty, but her work is in the piece now as well. So I kind of added it into the second edition.
Okay. And do we have any other questions? No? Okay.
Sorry, not a question,
yeah.
but just a comment.
Just a comment, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say I thought it was absolutely great. You know, there was so much subliminal stuff going on in it that you're not aware of being sort of directed anywhere in particular. There are things happening that you glimpse out of the corner of your eye. And I think it was a really exciting piece. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to make it like a painting more than a game. I do quite a lot of VR experiences that are quite linear, and you have a certain amount of time and you have a certain amount of things to have to guide the user through, and this wasn't going to be one of those. I wanted it to be the kind of thing that people could just drop into and find bits and pieces of whenever, however they wanted. The same way that you experience a painting in a gallery. You might sit there for 10 minutes and see something completely different than the last time you went, depending on your state of mind at the time.
Are there any techniques that you're kind of using, because it's kind of open in that sense? So I think it kind of links nicely with the piece we saw before as well.
Yeah, that's really
your experience, where it's kind of similarly sort of non-linear kind of stories waiting to kind of unfold, if you like. Are there any techniques that you use to try and sort of draw people to particular areas, or do you ever get frustrated if they just go to the wrong place and you're like, why are you going there, you know?
Yeah, well, I had a limited amount of time to test it. It was made literally in 2 weeks, the story, the part of, you know, the world of it, after doing the experiments. So I had to just be I had to split myself off into different potential users in that way. But yeah, I remember moving trees around a lot because of lines of sight. For instance, I wanted to be able to see the woman sitting at the laptop from the house or from the middle point. So it was always a case of like, can I see the different things from wherever I am? And that was something I spent quite a lot of time on. I just want to emphasize as well, I think giving is something that I'm passionate about, because I believe that to be able to paint with your own digital brush is really important. A lot of people approach me to kind of work with them, but they want me to be the one holding their brush. There's nothing more frustrating for me for them to tell me something like move it to the left a bit, right a bit, up a bit, down a bit more yellow, a bit more blue. I kind of want to give them as early on as possible the ability to just move things wherever they want. And I think that there's still a lot of work to be done there, helping particularly women get more into that side of things, to not use the creative technologist as the one that will sort of bail them out of anything, or just to give them the ability to make their own decisions. I just find it so empowering, and this piece was really, really good for that. I see a lot of Slack conversations, on between teams where there's a lot of discussion around tiny things, and it seems to take up 80% of the time. So I think the multidisciplinary aspect of it is something that I'd be really keen to help. And I think a lot of it's confidence, that these are all drag and drop things. They're not particularly, I'm not a programmer. I do a bit of programming, but I'm not a programmer. So I don't think you need all those skills. And I want to just emphasize that. Unity and Unreal and all these engines, there's so many tutorials. Anyway, that's my rant. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
thank you very much.
Rest of the day, and thanks for inviting me. I'm sorry I can't be there.
I hope to see you next year in person, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Thanks a lot.